Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you're all well, and I hope your Ramadan is going very, very well so far. My name is Mahum Hashim from the Hashim Sisters, and I'm here once again to share a story with all of you in the holy month of Ramadan. Now, the story that I'm going to be sharing with you is from a book called The Adventures of a Qur'anic Family by F Gulamhussein, Merali and N Virjee. There are a number of stories in this book, and you might have heard some from other readers earlier. Now, I'm going to be sharing a story called Fatima's Late Night with you all. I'll give you a little background about Fatima. Now, she's 8 years old. Her favourite colour is purple. Her favourite food's biryani. Her favourite book's called Zahra's Great Debate by Sufia Ahmed. Her likes are reading and her dislikes are nail polish. Okay, so let's get started. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Fatima's Late Night. Fatima yawned widely and then quickly clapped her hand over her mouth. She hoped Mummy had not seen that yawn, otherwise she would definitely send her upstairs to bed. Tonight was Mummy's birthday and family and friends had come over for dinner. After dinner, Mummy had put Maryam and Muhammad to bed, but Fatima had begged and pleaded with her to be allowed to stay awake until everyone went home. Mummy had reluctantly agreed, but had warned Fatima that she did not want any trouble waking her up in the morning, since Fatima had school the next morning. Fatima had insisted she would not have a problem. How hard could it be to stay awake a little bit longer? At first, she had a great time. She had sat with her older cousin Zahra in the big armchair for a while, just catching up on school and friends and stuff. Then she had helped Mummy serve dessert. They had cut cake straight after dinner so that Maryam could be there, and were now serving it with delicious ice cream along with tea and coffee for the adults. Fatima had felt so grown up sitting around with all of them cracking jokes and telling stories. It's always lots and lots of fun staying up with the adults and listening to all the wonderful stories away from your bed. But now, sitting there among family and friends, Fatima began to feel her eyes grow heavy, and all she wanted to do was curl up in her cosy bed, pull the blanket over herself and go to sleep. She looked around. Everyone looked so awake and fresh. Even Zahra, who was only 2 years older than her, was laughing and talking to her mum, not looking the least bit sleepy. She really did not want to leave and go upstairs. After all, she had said she would be fine and that she was old enough to stay awake longer, hadn't she? How would it look if she were to admit that she could not? Everyone would think that she was a little girl, just like Maryam. Ouch! Fatima felt a sudden poke in her ribs and turned around to see Zahra pointing at Grandma. "Grandma's called you 3 times already." Grandma had been calling her, but Fatima had been too sleepy to pay attention to anything around her. She quickly went to her grandmother, who told her to sit with her for a while. Fatima immediately did so. Grandma was so lovely and so warm and so comfortable. She snuggled up closer and breathed in her grandma's smell. A mixture of ittar, a type of Middle Eastern perfume, and Grandma's favourite jasmine perfume. Grandma put her arms around Fatima and asked her if she knew the story of the companions of the cave. Fatima nodded. It was one of her favourites. The story was about 7 companions and a dog who ran away from an evil king. The king was very angry that they worshipped only Allah and wanted to kill them. They took cover in a hidden cave at the foot of a mountain and went to sleep. Allah made them sleep for about 300 years. But when they woke up, they thought they had only slept for one night. Thinking it was just the next day, one of the companions went out to get some food. However, when he tried to buy food using 300-year-old coins, he was taken to the king to explain. The king was now a kind one who believed in Allah and allowed him to go back to the cave to tell his companions what had happened to them. Let me just show you a picture of grandmother and Fatima whilst grandma is telling Fatima about the story about the companions in the cave. When the companion got back to the cave, Allah, through His mercy, made him and the rest of the companions all fall back to sleep. Allah also prevented anyone from the outside coming into the cave, including the king. "I'd love to hear it again though, Grandma," Fatima said. She loved the way Grandma told stories, making them come alive in her imagination. Grandma began. Lulled by Grandma's soft voice, Fatima suddenly found that she could not help it anymore. Her eyes felt heavier and heavier, and the yawns just would not stop. She allowed her eyes to close and sank into a lovely, deep sleep. The next morning, Fatima simply could not wake up. The alarm clock would not stop ringing, and Mummy had already come in 3 times, attempting to get her out of bed. Finally, when Maryam ran in and started pulling at Fatima's hands, she dragged herself out of bed and splashed cold water on her face, trying to wake up. Eating breakfast helped her wake up just a little bit more. It also gave her some strength to read the Qur'an, something she did every morning before she went to school. Wow. Fatima opened the Qur'an to chapter Naba. Her madrasa teacher had asked her to memorize the first 7 verses of the chapter along with the meaning. Fatima had already done 7 and had to finish off the last 3. She recited the Arabic and began to read the meaning when she stopped and stared at the Qur'an. It was as if Allah was talking to her. She read it again, and the verse that she read was verse 9 from Surah An-Naba, which reads, وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا, and we have made sleep a rest for you. She thought about how exhausted she felt and how she was dreading her day at school, knowing how hard it was going to be to concentrate in her classes. She thought about how her mum always took pains to ensure that all of them went to sleep on time so that they would be fresh and ready for the next day. She thought guiltily of all the times she had gotten angry and argued with Mummy about having to sleep early, when her friends got to stay up later than her. She thought about last night and how even though she was so tired, she had not wanted to go to sleep because she thought sleep was for babies. She made a promise to herself there and then to never again make a fuss about going to sleep at her bedtime. She knew that as she got older, Mummy would allow her to stay awake for longer, especially for special occasions. Fatima ran to Mummy, who was getting ready to walk the 3 of them to school, and gave her a hug and a kiss. Mummy looked surprised but pleased. What was that for? She wanted to know. Fatima put a finger to her lips and winked at her, said, "Shh, it's a secret between Allah and I," she replied, laughing, and gave her mum another hug as they headed out the door together. The end. What a lovely story, and how wonderful that Fatima realised the importance of sleep and how important it was to listen to your mum whenever they tell you to go and have a good, restful night. Now, I hope you really enjoyed listening to that story. It was truly nice to read it with you and share it with you. Before I end and before I say Khudafiz to all of you, I wanted to just ask you to all take a moment to think about all those less fortunate than us and make a donation if you can, in any sort of way that you can, to the Noor Orphans Fund to help those less fortunate than you, to help those children less fortunate than you. Details will be in the comment section below. Please do take a time to look at this. thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed that. Inshallah, please, I pray that you all have a wonderful Ramadan. Take care of yourselves. Khudafis.